Relationships. This program is presented by our faculty member, James J. Prather. The series that you are dialed into is provided monthly, and it's on relevant business topics hosted by Lake Forest Graduate School of Management. Lake Forest is an independent, accredited institution with over 50 years of experience in providing practical business leader education. We do this through our MBA degree program, certificates, and corporate learning development courses. I'm your host, Carol Modlin. I'm the Manager of Corporate Learning Solutions here at Lake Forest. And Corporate Learning Solutions, for those of you who don't know, is the part of Lake Forest Graduate School that specializes in developing corporate managers and leaders. We combine relevant content with the expertise of our business leader faculty to provide customized training, consultation, coaching, and organizational development services to help our clients achieve results with learning. Today, we're grateful for the sponsorship and generosity of our client and longtime supporter of the school, Trustmark and the Trustmark Foundation. Trustmark provides access to a full spectrum of flexible benefit solutions, including health plan administration for self-funded employer groups, payroll-deducted voluntary products, group medical benefits, and health and fitness management programs. We are able to bring this webinar to you on a complimentary basis as a result of Trustmark's support. Okay, so before we move into today's program, I'd like to take a moment to go over how we will interact today. We will not be using all of the options seen on the screen, but we will be using some emoticons. And if you look on your screen, you can find the emoticons right here where I've highlighted. We'll be using primarily the hand, the green check mark, and the red X. If you have questions or comments during the program, please submit them using the chat feature, which can be found down here where I'm highlighting further down. Make sure that you use the drop-down arrow, which is right there, and make sure that you select all attendees before submitting. Comments and questions will be addressed at the end of the program. One final note, please be sure that you are muted, and I'm going to put this on hold. Please be sure that you are muted and that your video is off for the entire program. That will help us avoid unnecessary distractions like this one during the program. Give me a moment. Here we go. Okay. Okay. So I'm trying to mute the music that we're hearing, and while I'm doing that, if you can close all of your other applications, and once you're ready to start, click the raise hand function. Okay. Great. We're seeing a lot of people click their hands. Very good. All right. So, looks like we are ready to start the program. So without further ado, I would like to introduce to you our faculty member, James Prather. James Prather is one of our Lake Forest Business Leader faculty members. He is a blue-chip executive with solid marketing, sales, and business development credentials derived from career-long successes at world-class organizations, including Sealed Air, Revlon, Unilever USA, Kraft Foods, Miller Brewing, E&J Gallo Winery, and PepsiCo. He's led cross-functional teams in the successful execution of numerous new product launches and has grown brand businesses across B2C and B2B multi-channel environments. James is currently the Global Director of Marketing with NSF International, where he oversees the development and implementation of marketing strategy for a global organization that conducts product testing, auditing, and certification for a variety of industries. So without further ado, I would like to introduce to you James Prather.
Thank you, Carol. I appreciate it. Thank you, Carol. I appreciate it very much. Let me go ahead and move it looks like you've moved the ball into my court, and that's fantastic. And I would like to thank everybody for today taking their lunchtime to talk with us today, or have a discussion rather, around achieving breakthrough client relationships. And one of the things that Carol was so gracious to do is to talk about my background. It's always good to have someone else talk about it as opposed to you talk about yourself. But one of the things that, from a humility perspective, that I must say, working in a lot of different organizations, B2B, B2C, and even having my own consultancy, is that clients drive strategy. Clients drive our actions. Clients, we call clients as customers, are interchangeable, are overall the center focus and should be the center focus of each and every day of what we do, and I'm sure it is. Otherwise, you folks wouldn't be on this call with us today. So today what we're going to do is talk about some of the intuitive things I think are intuitive, but oftentimes may get slightly missed. And they've been, some of these tenets we'll talk about today are those that I've been engendered in my career across my day-to-day lifetime, and quite frankly has helped me to achieve, I think, breakthrough results that I, again, want to share with you today. So in terms of our objectives for today, clearly would like to make certain that we have a conversation and share with you what I think are some of the basic tenets of that core foundational principles, if you will, associated with achieving breakthrough client relationships. I think you won't learn anything rocket science today, but you'll see some of these terminologies used, and I'll give an example of, or several examples that I think will help reinforce that and perhaps walk away with perhaps an understanding of how I may view it and how I've implemented some of these tenets in my career. We'd like to ensure we talk about some of the barriers that I think are important to know about and to avoid, if you will, to achieve this status. And then hopefully walk away with a sense of confidence, knowing that some of the things that you're already doing and perhaps maybe or bringing in some of the new things or things that you may know about, but just hearing about today will enable you to incorporate that into your daily repertoire in terms of how you deal with your clients. So what would a great conversation be without a great quote or series of great quotes? I was debating on which ones to use. Obviously, Jeff Bezos and from Amazon, and Nick Swinmurn from Zappos, and of course the Nordstrom's organization. There's just so many different companies out there that embody what it means to be and have and take on true customer-client focus. I think Peter Drucker, as we all have read and know about, has a very simple one here. The purpose of business is to create customers and grow that customer. Again, I repeat, the purpose of a business is to create a customer and to grow that customer. And I think what happens is we, each and every day, we pursue growing customer. We think growing customers is specifically centered around revenue and margin improvement. And we're taught that each and every day. But clearly, what customers that I have found are looking for today are for true strategic partnerships, being able to elevate that to a different level to differentiate the folks they do business with to a more strategic partnership level. And so what I think Peter Drucker may have been meaning, and even if you were to break this down further, it's growing customers in a very strategic way. We all know our friend Mr. Steve Jobs, God rest his soul. He truly understood what it meant to put the customer first. He built his entire value proposition, his entire foundation or his organization based on the fact that clients understood what they wanted, or at least if they didn't know what they wanted, get close enough to them so that you can anticipate what they want, so that you can in turn build your business or build different services and products that meet those perceived needs. So he says, get closer than ever to your customers, so close that you tell them what they need well before they realize it themselves. And I think that is, I just think it's amazing that he was able to take that and really build it into everything he does. And I think you would all agree with me, hopefully, as it's demonstrated in some of the technology that he's put forward. So let's talk about some statistics for a moment, all right? 68% of customers leave you because they perceive you are indifferent to them. And these are all statistics you can pull off of Google or anywhere else, but it's so important that you have some of these statistics and to see, in fact, how it perhaps maybe relates to yourself. Satisfied customers tell 9 people how happy they are, yet dissatisfied customers tell 22 people. And I would actually, 22 people about their bad experience. I would challenge that because I have, in my career and in some of the products and services that I've sold, you know, when I've seen some of the competitors and some of the bad things were said, I'm sure it went to a heck of a lot more than 22. And I'm sure you can all relate to that, and especially with the internet and social media and all the different other electronic forms today, bad news gets out and can actually kill a company. 80% of customers or companies believe that they deliver superior customer experience. However, only 8% of those customers agree. I need to repeat that. When I read this one, I couldn't believe it. 80% of companies believe they deliver a superior customer experience, but only 8% of the customers agree. I think that is so profound. There's a huge disconnect there. And I'd be curious for you all to do some introspective reflection to determine where do you feel, where does your company fall in that? The customer experience, companies that prioritize the customer experience generate 60% higher profits than their competitors. And I fully agree with that. Having nearly 30 years, if not more than 30 years of experiences, I have truly seen that the companies that focus and put the customer first and embody it in each and every day and everything they do, it truly does manifest itself in higher profits, longer, sustainable strategic relationships. So I'm going to pause for a moment, and I'm going to ask you a show of hands if you can all tell me if your organizations, just a yes or no, or just, I guess, hitting the hand and letting us know, does your company have a means of tracking customer service today? Is it an important aspect of what your company does as part of the DNA? So the question, again, is simple. Does your company have an effective customer satisfaction measurement system today? If you could take a moment and hit the hand there and let us get us a pulse of that, it would be fantastic. Carol, are you able to see those on your end?
Yeah, I'm seeing a lot of hands going up, Jay. Thank you, everybody, for chiming in. Looks like we've got a large number of people who actually do have companies that do that.
That's fantastic. That's fantastic. Which is a testament to exactly what we were talking about earlier, that companies today understand that clearly without a solid customer relationship, feedback, and ongoing dialogue with that client, and being able to calibrate and tweak as you need to, they know that the companies that don't have one will not survive, or for that matter, they'll lose market share and they'll erode away. So thank you all for sharing that. That's very, very helpful to know. Just sharing a little bit more on the statistics side, I thought it would be very helpful. A company that I worked at called Sealed Air, used to be called Diversity. Sealed Air purchased Diversity to make it about an $8 billion company. Previous to coming to where I'm at, I was area vice president over there, and one of the things I was responsible for was really keeping a very close handle or finger on the pulse of our customers. So one of the things that I led was a team to pulse 2,000 of our mid to larger, even some smaller clients, customers, to get their perspective of how they view what we were delivering and what they see as a value. And as you can see on here, I think the one key takeaway is that pricing is nowhere even on here. And I have to say that most of us, if I could speak, I guess bluntly, I think we tend to feel when we're selling into customers, the very first thing we need to address is pricing. But we found in this survey and other subsequent surveys as well that pricing rarely is the #1 thing when you're dealing with core strategic customers. Customers or clients, as I said, those are interchangeable words for our conversation today, who are looking for true leadership and growth. They're looking for overall value. You know, any type of manufacturer and suppliers can provide overall value. Those who get to know your business in an intrinsic way. I mean, truly get to know the business. We're going to talk a little bit about that in a moment. Those who enhance results through value-added services. So if you currently have, you know, let's say 20 products or 200 products, and you're able to go into a client and talk to them about your portfolio and how you can provide value offering in terms of solutions and not selling. We'll talk more about that in detail. We have found that index at 143, which is the third from the top, as you can see, is very important. And the last two here I'll just talk really quickly about is providing deep application expertise. They want to deal, at least from my experience, particularly with our clients here, they want to deal with folks, suppliers, they want to deal with service providers, whatever you want to call yourself, those who understand and bring deep expertise to the table. They don't want to just deal with another person who happens to be in the financial industry, who happens to sell good products, who happens to have nice brands. They want someone who understands not just their brands, but understands the marketplace, the dynamics that are attributed to how to grow, or some of the factors that are preventing them from growing. And then the last one we'll spend a few moments on here, and we'll talk more about in the context of the presentation, is enhances your reputation. They want to deal with suppliers, service providers that help them enhance their reputation in the marketplace, help them to advance, not just revenue and profits, but help them to grow market share, help them to become bigger, and help them to aspire, or help them to achieve their goals that they aspire to. So just something that reinforces it. Again, a lot of these things we'll talk more about in a moment, but I thought sharing this with you would be very helpful, and as I mentioned, pricing isn't even on here. So I guess one of the key takeaways from this is simply, let's not resort to gold pricing first without really understanding our clients and some of their basic needs. So I like to summarize things in the context of tenants. I love that word, tenants. And I, quite frankly, when I looked at across my career and some of the companies and clients I've worked with, I've been blessed to have the opportunity to work with the club and drug and supermarket channels, as well as manufacturers and a whole host of different types of organizations, both worked at but work with, from Walgreens to Kraft to Revlon. And I got to tell you, one of the things, or 7 of the things I walked away with, was that you really do have to have these basic things down pat. It's not just to do and have a transactional relationship, but to have a breakthrough client relationship. We're going to talk and have a conversation around each of these in a moment, but let me just clear this slide so you can see why I selected these, and hopefully you would agree with them. So from a familiarity and transparency perspective, again, it sounds very intuitive, but very, very less often pursued or taken into account in terms of driving client relationships or breakthrough client relationships. And so what I mean by this familiarity is taking time not just to know the sales numbers and the profitability numbers. What I have found it to be extremely beneficial is exercising humility from a transparency perspective, letting the client know who you are, some of the things that makes your business tick. From a familiarity standpoint, getting to know more than just a buyer's name, getting to know more than just how much sales is being generated, getting to know things that, for that matter, on a personal level from the buyer, you know, how many kids do they have? Do they have kids in college? Or for that matter, without being creepy, getting to know some of the things, what schools they went to, really to get familiar with the buyer, but also the company. What's the company's values? What's the company's mission? What is the company trying to achieve? Are they just trying to just grow market share? Are they trying to do something much more meaningful in the market? NSF International, company I work for, their mission is around public health and safety. It's essentially everything we do is centered around enabling society to live safer in the environment in a safe manner, and we test and we audit and we certify to ensure that the health and public welfare, if you will, and safety is adhered to. So it's getting to know that, and you know a lot about the people who work there, and I'm sure that you all can identify. So moving right along, value proposition. I'm sure each one of you have heard value proposition. You've probably heard it ad nauseum. I actually love the terminology value proposition. I'm going to take a minute and walk you through the importance of that in a moment, but just clearly high level. I'll share with you that there is a confusion in the marketplace with respect to value proposition and the description. I've asked a number of executives over my career to give me their value proposition, and I've gotten nothing more than a description of what they offer. So let me just clarify. Value proposition is, we'll talk more in a moment, it's that DNA. It is that unique differentiator that makes your business different. It makes you stand out in the marketplace over your competitors, and it also was what defines your portfolio item or your service within the company amongst all the others. It is what, at the end of the day, when the CEO has to make a decision on whether or not we need to either invest in a business or get out of a business internally, your value proposition is what that helps him to make that decision. It's not just about the profitability and the revenue. It's about how strategic is that item in the portfolio and what value proposition does it offer to the overall company. When it comes to a client, it's the same thing. They have thousands and thousands of different competitors that you compete with to deal with. So in essence, to prevent from being a commodity, you absolutely have to understand your value proposition as well as the value proposition of your customers and make sure there's alignment. Mutual respect.
I'm going to grab the
again, very, pardon? I think I heard someone ask a question. Okay, we'll keep going. Mutual respect, very intuitive, but again, if you think about it, there are companies today that do transactions with clients, and the client or customer does not necessarily respect the business they're doing business with, but it's a necessary evil. We could think of different products, if you will, that sometimes customers just have to carry it. But in order to really elevate this and take it to another level, which we call breakthrough customer relationships, you absolutely do need to earn the respect of the customer, and they have to respect you. So you respect them, but they have to respect you. It's mutual. And that's something you either have to work towards, or you already have a general foundation and just need to add a little bit of flavoring to it to make it much to a higher degree. But it is, in my view, one of the most important things, a part of these 7. Consult versus selling. I think I chuckle on this one because I actually didn't learn this one myself until I think I would say within the last 6 to 7 years. And the reason being is because if you think about each and every day we go to work, we are told we have to hit a number. Or if we're dealing with internal clients, we have to do something to please them. There's some kind of a metric, if you will. And what I've come to find out is one of the geniuses of selling is not to sell. It is to go in and if you do the familiarity and transparency, and you have a value prop, and you have the mutual respect and incorporating some of these other tenets, and you're able to go in and talk to a client in a very, very meaningful way and understand his portfolio and understand, what your solutions are, but you don't want to sell, but you just want to listen and learn, help them solve problems. That is powerful. That is so powerful, and then quite frankly, it elevates you to a level of breakthrough customer relationship, and it has for myself. We'll talk more about that in a moment. Humility and vulnerability. Another one that I've learned and have been employing in the last, I would say, a few years or maybe 5 years. And this one here is simply what it states. Going out into your clients and not acting as though you know it all. You may be the expertise in your area, but you don't know everything. And sometimes it just requires you to go in and listen to your clients and understand what motivates them, what are the dynamics impacting their businesses, and for that matter, being vulnerable, showing them that, I may not have this answer, but I'm going to get the answer. Or I may not have the solution in-house to sell you, but I'm going to connect you with someone who can help you. So having that humility and that vulnerability piece is so powerful. Because guess what? Customers today are people. I'm not just today in general. Customers are people, right? People run them. We're all on this phone. We're people. And if you deal with people in a business manner, knowing that they're also people, quite frankly, decisions are made based on what people like you. It's not just your offering. They have to like you. And people like you when they can see inside you. So I'm going to say show everything, but show humility and show that you're vulnerable in areas, and you'll be surprised on how that will raise the level of the relationship. Fearlessness and courage is one that I picked up in this book called Getting Naked. So before you start laughing, this is a real book, by the way, by Patrick Lencioni, or Lencioni, I believe it's pronounced. And it's, in essence, it's a business fable, and it talks about the shedding of the 3 fears that sabotage client loyalty. And I was just so tickled by the book when I read it. It was an easy read. I would highly recommend it. And by the way, I don't get any royalties for pitching that, but I share with you, it's a very, very good book, and it talks about this fearlessness and courage. So if you and when you employ the familiarity, the transparency, the value proposition, and all these others, if you will, you're in a position of being able to talk to a client like a friend more so than a client. And it gives you the keys to the castle, if you will, to be able to have a dialogue that enables you to put forward different ideas and be fearless in the sense that you're not worried about losing a sale, being politically correct. You're focused on providing the right information, the right solutions, and giving it to them in a truthful manner. And that is so powerful. And I have to tell you, in the current role that I'm in now, this is how I operate each and every day. It's not cocky. It's being fearless and having your facts and having your information in front of you and being able to present to your clients, internally and externally, the right solutions to the right problems, and people respect you to a greater degree. And then WinWin Relationships, clearly, I think you've all heard about those. We'll talk more about that in a moment, but again, a chuckle because early in my career at Gallo Wine, I was in sales, commission sales, and I was taught, believe it or not, from the very beginning was, and I know you may not believe this, but it's true, if you don't get kicked out of a customer from pushing too hard, then you're not doing your job. That's how Gallo taught me. And I love Gallo Wine, by the way. I love the company. I'm not putting anything down. But that's how I was taught. So I went through my career pushing and pushing and pushing so that I could win, my company could win, my sales numbers would be great, my marketing numbers would be great. But at the end of the day, I had scorched earth. I had clients who felt as though they weren't winning, and it was, oh, here comes Jay Prather again. So I was able to sell products, and I was very successful at it, but I wasn't building strategic relationships. And so if I can impart anything important on you guys, we'll reinforce that today in our conversation. So I wanted to take time to clear this slide. There's a ton of other things that you could do. I'm sure you do. But these are ones that have helped me to become successful, and again, I wanted to impart those on you. So we're going to take a little bit of time to walk through each of these a little bit more, and then we'll open up questions, if you will. Familiarity and transparency. Some of this stuff is really basic, as I talked about a moment ago. It enables greater understanding of your customer, you know, their needs, the drivers, and allows you to provide greater strategic value. It's just reinforcing what I mentioned earlier. What I feel is very important here, and the key takeaway from this, it transcends your relationship from just transactional to a much higher level, to the level of strategic partnership, and that's what clients are looking for today. Now, if I was reading out of a textbook and said, hey, this is what the textbook said, but I actually have seen this firsthand in a whole array of businesses, from food to wine to makeup to now services, and it's so important. Transparency with customers extended trust and allows you to effectively grow P&L's top and bottom line. I know I skipped that third bullet, but I wanted to make sure I emphasize this one here. When you think about it, if you have a solid relationship with your clients, you're able to get what we call warm leads. They're able to tell other clients about the relationship they have with you. I think if somebody could please mute their phone, I'm hearing a little bit of noise in the background. Thank you, I'd appreciate it. Those warm leads mean that you, in turn, are able to generate higher revenue. In terms of the bottom line, those candid conversations enables you to have, again, we talk about fearless and courage conversations. It enables you to be able to talk about that sensitive white elephant in the room, pricing. You know, we have raw goods that go up, and we dread going in with our clients and talking about pricing and, wow, how are we going to tell us, what story are we going to spin, be able to share with them, you know, how we're going to take pricing. But just think about if you're able, if you've built a transparent and a familiar, or I should say an environment of transparency and familiarity with your client, not friends, but a very strong, transparent environment, you're able to show them, here are the raw good costs. We're going to tell you we need to take pricing. Do you agree? Let's work through this. There's some things we have to do. We have to make certain margin. Here's our cost of goods. You don't want to give them everything, but having a level of transparency is so critical, and it pays dividends down the road in terms of some of these tough conversations. My favorite of all of them here, well, I shouldn't say they're all 7 of my favorite, but this is my favorite of the favorite, is this whole value proposition piece. And I wanted to share with you this and talk a little more about it. And then I'll just open up for a question on this one in particular relative to value proposition. As I mentioned earlier, this is that specific, I call DNA, of what makes your business unique. And if you don't know what that is, I implore you to urgently work through your looking at your mission, your vision, looking at your product, its attributes, but more importantly, that differentiator, what makes it so unique, and why does a client need to buy your product versus another, or buy your service versus another. It is something that is not just viewed by you, it's defined by your customers. So if you decide that, hey, I want to put my value proposition out there, I would strongly recommend that you get a one or two of your top clients and you put your value proposition in front of them and see if it meets the smell test. And I know sometimes that may be uncomfortable, but those clients that you trust, they'll tell you the truth, what they think your value proposition is, and that's what you should be building off of. It needs to resonate, not just with you, but in the marketplace. It needs to differentiate, and more importantly, it needs to substantiate why they should do business with you. Just to build off of this piece, you know, when you think about all of the different customers and clients that, all the different suppliers and different companies that a customer can do business with, just think about all of them. It's so easy to become a commodity. But I tell you right now, the customers that I have now and the customers I've had across my career, the most important thing of everything is when you talk about value proposition, they want to know, what can you do for me? Can you help me solve my problem? And quite frankly, they already have in their mind what their results and what they aspire to achieve. But they also know their reality of where they are today. And those clients, or should say us on the phone, suppliers, and service providers, they want to hear how you're going to help them close that gap. They don't want gimmicks. They want to know how what you know about their business and some of those touch points, the dynamics that impact their business, and they want to know what you bring into the table. And it may not be something in your portfolio. It may be something in terms of advice. It may be connecting them up with someone in the industry. It is taking that to the next level, and that requires truly understanding your value prop and having a relationship that enables you, and also the fearlessness, if you will, to basically, and humility, I guess all seven, to basically step back and go, you know what, I don't have this in my portfolio, but I know someone who does, and building a relationship, because you never know when that's going to come back and be helpful and successful and help you down the road. That client might need something else in your portfolio, and he's going to remember what you've done for him. Don't sell, consult, find ways to close the gap here. So I'm going to take a moment, just real quick, pause, and I'd like to see a show of hands of a number of you all who, I don't want to say to know what the word value prop is, because we all in business, I know you do, but how many of you have a rigorous way of understanding or articulating your value prop? Rephrasing to simplify the question, how many of you leverage value proposition assessment and understanding with your clients each and every day? Let me see a show of hands, please.
And again, the hand raise tool that Jay's asked you to use is over by the little emoticon bar right underneath or at the bottom of the participant list. So if you see the hand there, if value proposition is something your company does and you know what it is, go ahead and click that. Jay, I see some hands going up, so we do have some people, but not everybody.
Well, thank you all. Thank you for polling on that. And that tells you, and you know, of course, Lake Forest and as well as myself, we have ways of helping you in this regard in terms of being able to define your value proposition, what have you. It's not a sales call. But I can tell you that this is so very valuable. And for those of you who are using it, continue to use it, continue to leverage it, continue to differentiate yourselves within the marketplace with it, and continue to refine it, and continue to put it in front of your clients and make certain that you're calibrating it each and every day or each and every week, a month, how often you need to go back and calibrate. And I would say you calibrate how often depends upon your competitive activity, your competitive nature of the marketplace that you play within. Because competitors come out each and every day one-upping others in the value prop area, and I think it's critical to understand this. So thank you all for sharing that, and we look forward to talking more about this moving forward, should we be able to help you. Mutual respect. Again, clearing that slide from previous. Just want to spend a little bit more here. I know, again, it's very intuitive. Everyone knows what that is, but you know, when you think about if there are certain things that happen in the industry that impact your reputation or your ability to gain mutual respect. Your reputation is one. Your expertise is how you're known for what you do, what you deliver, and people talk within the industry. Your competitors talk. If you're respected, even a competitor will not say bad things about you. They'll try to take your business, but they won't try to undercut you or badmouth you. So your expertise in the industry and what you're known for gets out there, and clients obviously respect you for that, and they want to do business with you. And that's why it's not about advertising. It's not about marketing your company's, what they do and their reputation. It's about earning it. It's about delivering on the promise of what your mission says in your organization's charter, and making certain that the marketplace see you demonstrated versus just talking about it. And of course, your historical premise. It's imperative for enabling breakthrough client relationships, as we talked about earlier. It takes you from just being a general supplier to a whole different level. And of course, the warm leads. The warm leads are so very valuable. You don't have to do the sales prospecting. You don't have to do as much of the detailed analysis when you're going to cold call a new client. You now have a warm lead that someone has provided in the marketplace to other customers that potentially can drive your top line, but also your bottom line, because you're not spending as much time on developing and going after some of the information. You already kind of been pre-sold, if you will. Consult versus selling. I can talk about this for days. I kind of chuckled earlier. I would tell you that, of all these bullets, I tried to cut bullets from the page, and they're all so valuable. So I'll tell you for this slide here, as mentioned earlier, transcending your business in the way you deal with your clients, not just your external clients, your internal clients, is critical. Every client that I've ever encountered, even from the days that I was at Gallo, I just didn't see it. They all want you to understand their business and sell your portfolio. They don't want to be sold a product. They don't want to be sold one solution. They want a way of solving their problems. And if your portfolio or your solution or your products or whatever you want to call them can help them to do that, then that's fine. But you only do that after you've exhausted the question and answer, the probing, and getting to know those businesses and let me rephrase it, take that word out of my vocabulary. Consulting and trying to connect dots with their needs, with your solutions, and if you don't have those solutions, being able to offer them other alternatives and not worry about the dollar and cents. And I know that sounds weird today coming out of a businessman's mouth, but I'm telling you, it comes back residually down the road tenfold by consulting versus selling. So I think that the best way to really demonstrate or to talk through this and share with you is, I think, this comparative that I think that really does show the differences between the consulting approach and the selling approach. And hopefully you can identify with this. But a consultant calls on a business decision maker and finds other stakeholders within the organization or within its other organization that can provide relevant value. Going in and talking, for example, in my business, our business is broken into food, water, health sciences, sustainability standards, and consumer product divisions. And so when I go into a client, I want the food, water, sustainability standards, health sciences. I want anyone in that organization or in that customer who touches any of those businesses to be in the room. If I can feasibly have that happen, I will postpone a meeting if need be, if I can ensure that the key players are in that room. So a seller calls on a business decision maker just to make a transaction. Consultant pursues broad understanding of customers and their dynamics. A seller predetermines products and services that he wants to sell. He puts together his pitch book and he says, okay, I'm going to sell today, and these are the products I'm going to sell. And I'm saying the seller or salesperson is a bad person. I'm saying, how do we transcend from selling to achieving breakthrough customer relationships? And so, because salespeople are phenomenal. I was a sales guy many times over, and it's how I fed my family. What I'm saying, how you transcend this business, or any of your businesses, is taking this different approach. Third bullet down, uses time with customer to uncover customer needs, whereas the seller focuses on convincing customers to see his same vision or her same vision. Mutually identifies areas for improvement, fourth bullet down, whereas the seller sells superiority of products and services. A consultant focuses on solving problems. You think about any consultant, Accenture, or any one of your businesses that may be a consulting, you solve problems. And that's what customers want today. A seller focuses on closing the sale. From the time he walks in the door, let me think of the gimmicks, let me think of the pricing, let me think of all the different things I need to close the sale. That's not a bad thing. if you're a seller. But if you really want to take this to a high level, I strongly recommend give yourself more time and exercise some of those 7 tenets we talked about. A consultant demonstrates expertise without mentioning cost or fees. I know that's counterintuitive to how salespeople, how we are all wired. But the reality is, you know, the monies will come by consulting, spending time to get to know what the problems are, uncovering them, and being seen as a strategic value or an entity or partner is going to open up so many more business opportunities, and it's a heck of a lot more profitable, as shared in a statistic earlier on in our conversation. A seller leverages special offers and to expedite the sale. So, hey, you know what? You don't want to buy this? Well, how about if I throw in another $10 off the price? Well, how about if I offer, you know, a free car with that bus? You know, and quite frankly, you lose respect when you're trying to sell, especially if you're trying to undervalue what your company truly brings to the table just to make a sale, because now you've killed yourself longer term because they're going to expect you to continue to go down that rabbit hole. And then lastly, secures future meetings to continue the dialogue and advance the relationship, where a seller is focused again on closing the sale, and if he doesn't close the sale, he waits for the customer to get back, or he follows up with a ton of annoying phone calls or emails or what have you. And not everyone, no one on this call, of course, but I was a seller, and that's what I did when I was at Gallo Wine. So I'm only sharing my own practices, if you don't mind. Humility and vulnerability, again, don't need to spend a lot of time here. We talked about this. I think that this is, again, by today's standards, I wish that I would have incorporated this a long time ago, because, again, starting at Gallo, a very strong company, very, very successful company. You can all Google it, but it's been around for years. And they taught me, strength and being kicked out of an account is the sign of success. Push, push, push until they say, no, I can't. I don't want any more wine. I don't want any more jug wine. I don't want any varietals. You've done enough. You've busted my budget for the month. And transcending that to going in and, as I say, consulting, finding the problems, and solutions to your customers' problems, but also exercising humility to understand and to acknowledge the fact that you don't have all the answers, and to be vulnerable and exercise openness to let them see some of the things that keep you up at night. Rising oil prices or lowering oil prices, or the things going on in the Middle East might in fact have some impact, if you will, on your pricing of your goods and services. There's a whole host of things, and by opening that up and sharing that with them, you'd be so surprised how the relationship moves to another level. Fearlessness and courage, we talked about, and I think that it's really self-explanatory. I think that if you are able to exercise the other tenets, as I mentioned, to get to a point of a relationship of strategic value, you really do have the keys to the castle, the keys to the kingdom, to be able to not necessarily go in and to be demeaning or disrespectful, but to be truthful. They're willing to listen. Your clients and customers are willing to listen to people who are willing to tell them the truth to help grow their business. And that is what I have found in my 30 years in doing this. And it doesn't matter the industry, it doesn't matter the product, doesn't matter if it's B2B, B2C, what have you. You build a relationship, you tell what we, as Patrick Lencioni calls it, or Lencioni calls it in his book, Getting Naked, tell the kind truth. It takes it to providing, if you will, feedback to like a friend. Think about how you would talk to a friend, a true friend. And as I said, customers aren't friends, but you want that kind of relationship. I think that says enough for this particular slide. We talk about win-win. I can talk on this slide for days. Truly, this particular slide, as I mentioned earlier, and I've said 2 or 3 times earlier, I've always operated under I win, you lose, or I win and maybe sometimes your customer lose, or I win and the customer never wins, or whatever, some of the blocks that aren't even on here. But if you think about how important it is to, before you walk into your clients, both internal and external, you can have internal folks you support inside your own company. If you think of everyone, and I even tell this to my children, you think about everyone that you deal with as a client, and you think about what it is that they need and what they want, and you think about what you need and what you want, and always strive for win-win. In some cases, you may not achieve it. There may be some unreasonable customers. There may be some unreasonable person in your personal or professional life. You'll find that there's this unreasonableness, and you cannot get past that barrier. But if you think of everyone as a client, your sister, your mother, your father, your customers, your boss, everyone, it changes it's not a subservient mentality. It's more of, you know what, I know people need things. Let me find out what they need, what motivates them. And you know what, if I give people what they want, I do subscribe now to this. I give people what they want, I'll always get what I want. If you give customers what they want, what they need, and you do it in a very, very passionate way and showing them that you understand your market, you understand their business, and I'm telling you, they win. You can put them first, you will win. Not only one time, you'll win multiple times. It pays dividends down. So there are many potential barriers. We'll talk briefly about this. I know we're kind of running tight on time. I can talk to you all for days about this stuff because I love this. But quite frankly, we talked earlier about reputation. I can't talk enough about reputation. It is a barrier. There are some, there are some that are, truly perceived issues out there about your organization or about the individuals within your organizations that are selling, and it's sometimes hard to ascertain, where those issues are. But reputation is very, very important, and sometimes you may have to make hard decisions to move client, or I should say sales representatives or marketing representatives, whoever are touching clients. You may have to make those adjustments. You need to really keep a bird's eye view on your business and who's touching your customers, because if there's reputation, whether it's your organization or the people within your company touching your customers, you need to be aware of this, and then really having a finger on it is so important, and trying to work through this reputation piece, I would say, is crucial in order to get to that breakthrough level. Lack of trust, self-explanatory, kind of ties back to the reputation piece, finding out where those gaps are and trying to close them. Lack of differentiated value proposition. We talked earlier about that. If you do not truly define your business, not the description of your business, but defining it in a very, very meaningful way and articulating it and amplifying it over and over again, you'll find yourself in a barrier or perhaps treated as a commodity. Unclear understanding of your customers' drivers and needs. It goes back to something we'll talk perhaps at another time about customer needs analysis being required. Doing a very deep dive into, approaching your customer, asking the right questions, or doing things before you go in and talk to your customers or potential customers. Understanding what are those things that that are important to them, what drives them, what motivates them. Is it profitability? Is it social matters? You need to know those things, and if you don't have that clear understanding, it could be a huge barrier. And again, self-explanatory, not rocket science here, but something to make sure we pull out. We talked earlier about trying to close the deal versus consulting. This is becoming much, much more prevalent, or I should say much more of an issue than As we talked earlier, 80% of us on the phone here believe we're meeting our customer satisfactions, but in essence, only 8% of us really are. So if we're going in and we're closing deals and we're trying to really just sell to make our numbers, quite frankly, that could be a huge barrier. One, it could blindside us and it can hurt us down the road. It will hurt us down the road. And then, of course, fears. This book by Patrick Lencioni. I have a problem saying his name, obviously. We talked about it earlier. Losing that fear, having fearlessness of not worrying about losing the sale. Don't worry about that. If you're being honest and you're exercising all the tenets we talked about, losing the business should be really one of the last things in your mind. It should be about being honest and providing ways of solving problems. Don't worry about being embarrassed. Don't worry about feeling inferior. Just being honest, being open, and sharing with your clients a means of solving their problems, and everything else will fall into place. So we have 11 minutes here. I'm going to quickly take you through a business case, and then I'll open up for any questions. As I mentioned earlier, and as Carol mentioned earlier, well, maybe didn't mention, I'll mention, I worked at Kraft Foods. I was there for almost 6 years. Actually, I was hired by Philip Morris Company spent a few months at Philip Morris, went over to Miller, and from Miller, I was one of the few to be able to transfer over to Kraft. So a total, I do have a pension for almost 13 years at Philip Morris. It's all different now. The company's been sold up. But when I got to Kraft, big portfolio, had clients, supermarket clients, and drugstore clients, what have you. And I think one of the things that I found out about myself is that clients, just like people, or just like we were talking about today, they all have a desire to grow. They want people who are going to bring, or suppliers that are going to bring solutions. So in this case, when I was promoted to a area marketing manager, I had an opportunity to work with Kroger and all of its banners, so Food for Less, Ralph's, Fry's, all of them. And as a result, they had shared at one time that they had a need for, after back-to-school time frame, they wanted to create some of the revenue-driving activity. Kraft Foods at the time was a category leader in many different categories, Kool-Aid, the cheese division, Oscar Mayer, Claus's Pickles, you name it. But they also had a desire to grow their perimeter businesses, so meats, produce, and all of those businesses, because they were having some challenges in the revenue side. So believe it or not, I didn't realize my success had really been tied to the 7 tenets that I've been doing and using for quite a while now. So familiarity, transparency. The thing was, I always exercised, at least with them, with the buyers, sharing with them my vulnerabilities for that matter, but also sharing with them my P&L. I mean, I didn't show them all the profit numbers, but I showed them, here's my raw good cost. Here's, when the packaging went up, the plastic that keeps the Oscar Mayer meats in the refrigerator, you see the ones that plastic on. And when oil prices go up, that resin impacts our cost of goods. So being able to talk to them and talking to multiple department heads and finding out what drove them and sharing with them what my vulnerabilities and what my business looked like was very, very helpful to allow me to understand what they were trying to achieve. My value proposition wasn't going in and saying, okay, we're the leaders, you must work with us. It was going in and understanding, where we added value and how we drove traffic to those stores when promoted and supported in the right way. So I constantly reinforced that, not just with the 1 or 2 buyers, but with multiple buyers. I sought out all of the buyers within the store or in a headquarter environment based in Cincinnati who could potentially have an impact on my portfolio. So sharing with that and pushing it out in a broad way, I was able to come forward with a program called Football at the time that enabled us to put together recipe ideas, to have promotional pricing, promotional packaging, even utilizing Vic Buckus and Kurt Warner and all these different celebrities through our relationship with the NFL to create a program that was massive, that enabled displays, that enabled advertising in their trade journals and a whole host of other things, as well as live appearances. From a mutual respect perspective, we already had the name with Kraft Foods and some of the big businesses, but one of the things that I had to do was personally to show them that I was interested in their business and that I understood the portfolio and I understood what drove them. And it wasn't just sales, it was traffic. It was traffic to their perimeter businesses and driving some of those more profitable private branded products, including their meats. From a consulting versus selling, I think you can pretty derive now from my conversation today that is something that was, in this case, very, very helpful, because you can't go in and just sell, an Oscar Mayer program or a Kool-Aid program or, a Capri Sun program or a Clausen program. You had to sell portfolio programs. And if I just back up for a moment, I didn't even have to sell it. I had to find out what they were trying to achieve and then find out that the fact that, bringing the right solutions, what we called recipe solutions, to the table that enabled our products, which were non-meat, non-produce. How do we bring those products that marry up to some of those perimeter products to create recipe ideas and then advertise it under a football theme with a celebrity that we were able to be involved with from the NFL was just dynamic. Just vertically adding one on top of the other allowed me to actually build out a very, very beneficial program to both us and them. Exercising humility and vulnerability, as I shared earlier, having open discussions, sharing with them the things that are important to us and finding out what was important to them. Having the fearlessness and courage to put forward a program that they never did before, had no benchmark, no kind of, no type of starting point, if you will. We just knew if we put this together, let's put it out there and see what it does. And it turned out to be a tremendous successful program, as I had mentioned, because of the vertical alignment of all of the different attributes, all different entities and elements of the program. So the results and the outcome was win-win. Craft achieved 64% growth and a notable market share gain during that window of time, which was an 8-week period after back-to-school timeframe, September-October window, during football timeframe. It enabled us to get display merchandising in all of their stores, not just Kroger, but Ralph's, Food Select, Fry's, all of their banner stores. For Kroger, they experienced record store traffic, knowing that that was the thing that they were trying to do, and it's driving that perimeter businesses in all of their stores. And they were able to also benefit from the awareness that it drove. And in fact, one of the things that was I would like to say, I don't know if it's a win-win for both, for them or us, but we were able to replicate the program year on year, at least until after I had left. So I'm not sure if they still do it or not, but quite frankly, it stems from us starting this, taking these approaches. So I thought this would be one issue to share with you all. I thought it demonstrates how you bring it all together. There's a lot of other things that come into play to be successful, but quite frankly, these are ones that I still tell the story to this day, how that craft program probably helped to shape and mold me to the kind of business person I am today. So in terms of some of the books we talked about, I talked about Getting Naked, but I think you've all read many of these books, Value-Added Selling, Strategic Selling, The Art of Helping. I thought The Art of Helping was extremely valuable. It never really talks about business per se. It talks about this touchy-feely importance, if you will, and I say touchy-feely not in a bad way, I mean in an admirable way, of if you are helping others, the role of a helper and identifying how you can help others and what are some of the things that you could do to help improve or better people's lives, not just your customers. So I think all of these books are very helpful. At some point in time, I would highly recommend picking up any of them and reading them. As I mentioned earlier, I don't get a royalty for any of it. So I've literally talked for almost 50-some-odd minutes. I know we have 3 minutes left. I am so excited to be a part of the Lake Forest grad school community, the faculty community. I'm a graduate of the school. I currently live in Detroit, and so it, for me, gives me great pleasure to be able to be on the phone with you all and share or impart some of my successes. And I can tell you, breakthrough client relationships is definitely achievable. And to differentiate yourself from your customers or in the marketplace in general, you truly need to obviously take that ball and move it one step further or higher, and you will see positive results. I promise you that. So with that, I'll open up for any questions.
So while you're all thinking about questions, if you have a question, please send it in the chat box and we'll read it out. But I do want to acknowledge that we're coming up to the top of the hour, and we respect the fact that many of you have someplace else to go. So if you do need to drop off, please feel free to do so. If you have a few minutes and would like to stay on, we'll certainly take time to address your questions. Also wanted to talk about our upcoming webinar. Our next one is going to be on Thursday, October 22nd. You'll see an invitation coming out from Natalie Corrado. The topic is big data, which is a really interesting topic. So if you have any questions, go ahead and send them in the chat box, and we'll address them as they come in. While we're waiting, I'd also like to thank our sponsor again, Trustmark, and also thank you, James, for an excellent presentation. We hope that all of you who've been on the session today have gotten some good information. We hope that you dial back into our programs again in the future. We do have a question. It's from Lori. Would you agree that transparency is becoming an important factor in all aspects of business?
I do. I absolutely do. I think what's happening today is with the number of competitors out in the marketplace, and for that matter, those competitors today are pretty apparent. You know who they are. There's other competitors that are, you have a lot of different manufacturers and others that are diversifying their portfolio. And as a result, because of their name, they're able to try to go into other space. So what happens is that having that true transparency relative to what you do and the value you offer, and, for that matter, I wouldn't necessarily have to say you have to get into cost structure, but letting folks know how your business operates and the tenets or the foundational elements that comprise your business, and knowing what to share and being very open and honest about it, I think has been, for me, it's been a success factor. And I'm seeing that more and more businesses are using this transparency piece as a filter for weeding out the hundreds of thousands of different suppliers out there who try to call themselves solution providers, and really, they really don't. They're just adding another, means of driving revenue. So I would totally agree. Transparency and visibility and vulnerability, if you will, all of the 7 tenets we talked about today are very, very valuable.
Another question for you, Jay. Do you think that the expectations of clients or customers is changing as the trend goes more toward consultative selling rather than just traditional selling?
Oh, absolutely. I think what's happening is that from what I see, including in my current role, that clients want to hear what your company has to offer. They don't want to hear what a particular salesperson or a different division within your company is trying to offer. They want someone to come in and share with them the portfolio, but only after you're able to step back and to really understand the dynamics and the things that are impacting their business. And as I mentioned, I've worked in a whole host of different, or a variety of different types of companies and services, and a whole different array of B2B, B2C, and I can tell you clients are become very savvy, and they want to see who's going to come in and learn their business, but also come in and talk about solutions and talk about them in a way that helps to really not just help them keep their doors open, to really help them elevate them to the next level versus their competitors. So to answer your question, yeah, customers are becoming much more savvy, much more demanding, and they want and they need more consultants who can come in and help them to differentiate them in the marketplace.
And then one final question. Can you talk a little bit more about what humility looks like?
Well, I can share it on both the personal level and the professional level. I think quickly on the personal level, first and foremost, for those of you who may not know me, I'm 6'4", 275 pounds, and I played sports at college, and I tried to stay in shape in my career, and Carol knows me, and the school knows me. Humility is being able to shed all of your, from a personal standpoint, shed all of the physical, the physique, and all the other, things that you see, and being able to let people know who you are inside without worrying about people, stepping on you or hurting you or what have you. Just being honest, being open, and letting it out. Now, with respect to business, what I mean by humility is that we all follow this, whether the 7 steps of the sales process, we follow this protocol for selling and what have you. And what I've come to find out is that, a lot of it is just rigor. It's just protocol. And humility is basically saying to a client, if the client doesn't need to have 7 steps sold in or whatever that is, it's going in and, as I mentioned, sharing with them what's important to them, finding out what's important to them, sharing what's important to you, sharing what's important to you personally, professionally, and letting them in and getting to know you and your company in an intrinsic way that enables you to stand out. So when you come into a store, into an account, or wherever it is that you're servicing, letting them see that you're there because you truly want to be there, not because they're just a customer on your list of customers you have to services with.
Okay, thank you. That seems to wrap it up with the questions. I want to thank you, Jay, for hanging in there, and for all of you on the line who are still there, thanks for giving us a few more minutes to cover these last questions. And Excellent. As a final note, I just want to let you know that we value your feedback. You'll be receiving a link to a survey in a little while, as well as a link to this recorded session. Please take the time to complete the survey. We use the comments and information from these surveys to continually improve our sessions. So we really do check them and try to act on your comments. This email will be coming to you later today from Natalie Corrado, who also sent the registration email. So with that, I think we're going to go ahead and end this session, and I'd like to wish you all a productive rest of your day.
Thank you all. Thank you. Have a great day, guys.